The twin suns of Vanar cast a golden glow across the desert plains. The planet was quiet, peaceful, and almost forgotten by the larger powers of the galaxy. The Vanians, a gentle and thoughtful race, had always avoided war. They preferred building gardens, libraries, and places of knowledge rather than fleets of warships. For centuries they had lived in harmony, untouched by the struggles of empires and conquerors. But peace can be fragile, and even the most distant world can be pulled into storms beyond its control. On one quiet evening, a streak of fire burned through the sky. The farmers in the southern valleys thought it was a falling star. The scholars in the mountain halls debated if it was a comet. But when the object struck the desert with a thunderous crash, shaking the sand for miles, the truth was revealed. It was not a star, nor a comet. It was a broken ship. A small group of Vanians, curious and cautious, traveled to the site. They expected to find wreckage and perhaps dangerous machines. Instead, they found something far stranger. Lying unconscious among the twisted metal was a human. Her name was Lieutenant Arya Cole. Her flight suit was torn, her arm bleeding, her face pale with exhaustion. The Vanians had heard stories of humans, creatures known across the galaxy for their determination, for their strange ability to endure pain, and for their unmatched loyalty. Many feared them. Some admired them, but none of the Vanians had ever seen one before. Elder Saren, the leader of the small desert village, stepped forward. "She is hurt," he said softly. "We cannot leave her." Others hesitated. To shelter a human was to invite trouble. Humans were soldiers, explorers, survivors. Where a human was found, conflict often followed. But the elder's wisdom was rarely questioned. Together, the villagers carried Arya to their settlement, hiding the remains of her craft beneath layers of sand. When Arya awoke, the first thing she saw was the soft blue glow of Vanian lamps. Their technology was elegant but simple, powered by crystal energy rather than great machines. She felt strange hands tending her wounds, wrapping her arm in glowing cloth that hummed with healing energy. She tried to sit up, but pain forced her back down. A tall figure with silver skin and wide, gentle eyes leaned over her. "Rest," the Vanian said in careful galactic common. "You are safe." Arya's throat was dry, but she managed to whisper, "Where am I?" "On Vanar," the elder explained. "Our people found you in the desert. You fell from the sky." Arya closed her eyes, remembering. Her squadron had been ambushed near the borders of Kroth space. She had been separated, her ship damaged. She had jumped through hyperspace blindly, trying to survive. She had not expected to live. And yet she was alive, saved by a people she had never met. Over the days that followed, she grew stronger. The Vanians fed her their food, soft fruits, warm grains, and clear water from underground springs. They healed her with their gentle medicine, which closed wounds slowly but without pain. Children watched her from a distance, whispering about the star warrior who had fallen from the sky. At night, when the pain eased, Arya would sit by the fire with the villagers. They asked her questions, curious about the world beyond their small planet. She told them stories of Earth, of cities that touched the clouds, of oceans larger than their deserts, of storms that shook the skies with thunder. But most of all, she told them about humans. She explained how humans fought for survival on a harsh world, how they learned to stand together against dangers far greater than themselves. She told them that humans were not the strongest or the fastest, but they were the most stubborn. When everything seemed lost, humans found a way. The Vanians listened with wide eyes. They had lived in peace for centuries, never knowing the struggles of such a violent universe. To them, Arya's words were both frightening and inspiring. One evening, Elder Saren asked her, "Why do your people fight so much when peace is better?" Arya looked into the fire, her face thoughtful. "Because peace is never free," she said. "Someone must stand to protect it. On Earth, we learned long ago, if you don't defend what you love, someone will take it away." The elder nodded, though the idea unsettled him. The Vanians had always believed peace was maintained by staying hidden, by avoiding conflict. But as he looked at the human before him, scarred yet unbroken, he wondered if peace without strength was only an illusion. But peace never lasts forever. In the nearby sectors, whispers spread. The Kroth warlords, brutal raiders who ruled through fear, had learned that a human had survived and that the weak world of Vanar was hiding her. The Kroth hated humans. They feared them too. A single human might not seem important, but where there was one, there could be many. And where there were many, there was always Earth's shadow. In the desert night, strange ships were seen crossing the sky. Traders reported Kroth patrols searching the outer systems. The Vanians began to worry. By sheltering Arya, they had drawn attention to themselves. Arya noticed the change in the villagers. She saw their anxious glances, their whispered conversations. One morning she stood before the elder and said, "They know I'm here, don't they?" The elder did not answer at once. Finally he sighed. "The Kroth have sent word. They demand we surrender you to them." The villagers gasped, fear spreading through the hall. The Kroth were merciless. To refuse them was to risk destruction, yet to hand over the human was to betray the very principles of kindness that defined the Vanians. Arya stood tall, though her body still ached. "You saved me when I was helpless. I won't let you pay the price for that." Elder Saren shook his head. "It is not so simple. We gave you shelter. That makes you one of us. If the Kroth want you, they will have to face us as well." The villagers exchanged uneasy looks, but none dared to speak against their elder. That night, Arya stared at the stars above Vaynar's desert. She thought of her home, of Earth, of her comrades lost in battle, and she thought of these gentle people who had chosen compassion over fear. A human never forgot a debt. And she promised herself that one day somehow she would repay it. The dawn over Vaynar was calm, but the village was restless. The Vanians were not used to fear. For generations their people had lived without war, their days filled with farming, studying, and song. Yet now a shadow had fallen over them. Rumors spread quickly. The Kroth warlords had sent ships. Their demand was simple: hand over the human or suffer the consequences. In the center hall, Elder Saren called the villagers together. Arya stood beside him, her uniform still torn, her arm still bandaged, but her presence strong. The elder's voice trembled, but he spoke with courage. "The Kroth are coming," he said. "They demand we surrender this human to them. But hear me well, our people have never abandoned those who seek shelter. We will not begin now." The hall filled with murmurs. Some were afraid. The Kroth were known across the stars as raiders, merciless and cruel. To defy them was to invite destruction. But others, though trembling, agreed with their elder. Compassion was the core of their people, and to betray it would be to betray themselves. Arya listened quietly. She knew the risk these people were taking for her. She had seen the Kroth in battle before. She knew what they were capable of. She stepped forward. "I cannot allow you to face this danger because of me," she said. Her voice was firm, though her heart was heavy. "The Kroth want me, not you. If I surrender myself, they may spare your world." But Elder Saren shook his head. "You are under our care. You are one of us now. If the Kroth want you, they must come through us first." The villagers murmured again, this time with more resolve. Arya felt a warmth inside her chest. These gentle people who had never held weapons were willing to stand against one of the most feared warlord races in the galaxy, because they had chosen kindness. That night, the sky above Vaynar blazed with fire. Great warships descended through the clouds, their shadows blotting out the twin suns. The Kroth had arrived. The villagers gathered on the ridges, staring in silence as the ship settled in the desert beyond. Metal beasts, sharp and cruel in design, they seemed like predators ready to strike. From their hulls, smaller craft flew down, carrying armored soldiers. The Kroth leader, a towering figure in black armor, stepped forward. His voice echoed through loudspeakers. "People of Vaynar," he growled, "you hide a human among you. Deliver her at once or your world will burn." Fear rippled through the villagers. Mothers clutched their children. Farmers held tools in shaking hands, the closest things they had to weapons. Arya stepped forward, her eyes locked on the Kroth leader. Though she was still weak, her spirit was unbroken. "You will not touch them," she said. "I will not let you." The Kroth soldiers laughed, a harsh metallic sound. To them, one human was nothing. But the Kroth leader narrowed his eyes. He knew the danger a single human could bring. Humans were stubborn, resourceful, and unpredictable. They were a spark that could ignite fires across the stars. In the days that followed, the Kroth established camps around the desert. They blocked trade routes, cut off supplies, and made their presence known. They thought the Vanians would soon surrender the human out of fear. But Arya had other plans. Though she was still healing, she began training the villagers. She showed them how to build defenses with the materials they had: stone walls, hidden trenches, and barriers made from hardened crystal. She taught them how to signal one another, how to stay alert at night, and how to move silently across the dunes. The Vanians had never held weapons, but they listened. They watched her every move, learning quickly. Their hands, skilled at farming and building, became steady in constructing traps and defenses. At first, they doubted themselves. "We are not fighters," one said. "You don't have to be fighters," Arya replied. "You just have to protect your home, and I will stand with you." Her words carried strength. Slowly, their fear turned into determination. When the Croth launched their first attack, they expected an easy victory. Dozens of armored troops stormed the village, weapons raised. But the Vanians were ready. Hidden trenches collapsed under the Croth's heavy steps, swallowing machines. Crystal barriers forced them into narrow paths where villagers dropped nets woven with strong fibers. From rooftops, Vanians rained down stones and bright flashes from crystal tools, blinding the invaders, and at the center of it all was Arya. She moved with precision, using her training to guide the villagers. She carried only a broken piece of metal from her wrecked ship, but in her hands it was a weapon strong enough to turn the tide. The Croth retreated, shocked. They had expected weak farmers, not a coordinated defense. Their leaders snarled in anger, vowing to crush them completely. The villagers cheered, their spirits rising for the first time. They had tasted victory and it gave them hope. But Arya knew the truth. The Croth had only tested them. The real attack was still to come. That night, Arya sat outside the village gazing at the stars. Her arms still throbbed with pain, but her mind was sharper than ever. She thought of Earth, of her comrades who had fallen, and of the fleet that might still be searching for survivors. From her pocket, she pulled out a small device, the emergency beacon she had kept hidden. It was damaged but not beyond repair. With careful work, she managed to activate it. A faint signal pulsed into the sky, reaching for the stars. Elder Saren approached quietly, his silver eyes reflecting the firelight. "What did you do?" he asked. "I sent a message," Arya said. "If Earth hears it, they will come." The elder hesitated. "Would your people come for just one soldier?" Arya looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "You don't understand humans," she said. "We don't abandon our own, and we never forget those who helped us. If Earth learns you sheltered me, they will not leave you to face this alone." The elder studied her face, and for the first time, he felt a spark of hope. Meanwhile, in the desert, the Croth leader prepared his forces. His anger had grown into rage. He would make an example of this small world. Tomorrow he would unleash the full power of his fleet. But as the stars shone above, far beyond the Croth's sight, Arya's beacon carried its signal into the deep reaches of space. And somewhere across the void, Earth was listening. The night before the final attack was heavy with silence. The desert winds carried the smell of smoke from Croth camps, and their ships glowed like dark stars on the horizon. The villagers of Vaynor sat together, their faces pale but their spirits unwilling to break. They knew the Croth would not hold back anymore. Tomorrow everything would be decided. Arya stood among them, her arms still bound with bandages but her voice steady. "You have already shown the Croth something they did not expect," she told them. "You stood against them once and you will stand again. But remember this, help is on the way. Earth does not forget its people." The Vanians listened, torn between hope and fear. They had never seen Earth's fleets, never heard the thunder of human warships. They could not imagine what Arya meant when she said Earth never abandoned its own. That night, Arya climbed the ridge overlooking the desert. She watched the stars, her eyes fixed on the endless sky. In her heart, she prayed her signal had reached someone, anyone out there. Humans might be scattered across the galaxy, but they always looked after one another. If her message had reached Earth, the Croth were about to learn what that truly meant. At dawn, the Croth struck. Their ships blotted out the suns, their weapons glowing as they rained fire upon the village. Explosions shook the ground and flames rose high. The villagers scattered, taking cover in trenches and behind stone barriers Arya had helped them build. The Croth soldiers marched forward, their armor black and cold, their voices harsh as they shouted for surrender. They were confident this time they would crush resistance completely. But Arya refused to give up. She shouted orders, guiding the villagers to their defenses. Nets dropped, Crystal barriers redirected blasts and hidden trenches swallowed advancing troops. The Vanians fought with everything they had, not as warriors, but as people determined to protect their home. For hours the desert roared with battle, yet slowly the Vanians began to tire. Their defenses weakened. The Croth pressed harder, sensing victory. Elder Saren himself stumbled, trying to lift a fallen stone to shield the children. It seemed the end was near, and then the sky changed. At first it was a faint hum. Then it grew into a thunder that shook the heavens. The Croth soldiers paused, looking up. The villagers raised their eyes too, their fear forgotten in wonder. The clouds split open, and out of the void came shapes unlike anything the Vanians had ever seen. Great silver warships, vast and powerful, carrying the banner of Earth. Their engines glowed bright, their hulls bristling with weapons. The United Earth fleet had arrived. Arya's beacon had reached them. Earth had heard. The Croth leader snarled, realizing too late what had happened. "Fall back!" He shouted, but it was useless. From above, the human fleet unleashed its fire. Streams of light cut through the sky, striking Croth warships with deadly precision. One by one, the raider vessels burst apart, their flames swallowed by the vastness of space. The ground shook as the fleet's weapons silenced the enemy camps. The villagers gasped, unable to believe their eyes. The Croth, who had always seemed unstoppable, were being torn apart in moments. Against Earth, they were nothing. Arya stood on the ridge, tears in her eyes as she watched the fleet descend. "They came," she whispered. "I told you, they always come." The largest ship landed beyond the desert, and from it stepped Earth's soldiers, armored, disciplined, their faces determined. At their front was an admiral, his uniform crisp, his voice like iron. He looked at Arya first. "Lieutenant Cole," he said, "you've given us quite the chase." Arya saluted weakly, smiling despite her exhaustion. "Sir, I had help." "I wouldn't be alive without them." She gestured toward the Vanians, who stood in awe at the sight of Earth's warriors. The admiral turned to them, his expression softening. "You sheltered one of ours. You gave her food, medicine, and safety when you could have abandoned her. For that, Earth owes you a debt. From this day forward, your world is under the protection of the United Earth Fleet." The villagers gasped. Elder Saren stepped forward, his voice shaking. "You would do this for us?" The admiral nodded firmly. "Humans repay kindness with loyalty. You helped one human, and now all of Earth will help you." The Croth, seeing their doom, tried to retreat. Their ships scattered, but Earth's fleet gave chase. In the skies above Venar, the battle raged for only minutes more. When it ended, the Croth were gone, destroyed or driven far away. The villagers stood in silence, staring at the humans who had saved them. The children ran forward first, their laughter breaking the stillness as they touched the shining armor of Earth's soldiers. The fear that had hung over their world for weeks finally lifted. Arya walked among them, her heart full. She had promised them help, and help had come. She had promised them humans never forgot, and now they understood. That evening, under the light of twin suns, the humans and Vanians gathered together. The admiral spoke of alliances, of protection, of a future where Venar would no longer be weak and alone. The villagers listened, hope glowing in their eyes. Arya sat beside Elder Saren, watching the children dance around the campfires. "Your people saved me when I had nothing left," she said softly. "I told you I would repay that. Now Earth will repay it too." The elder smiled, his eyes reflecting the firelight. "Perhaps peace is not only about hiding," he said. "Perhaps peace is about standing together." Arya nodded. "That's what it means to be human. We stand for each other. And now we stand for you." The story of Venar spread quickly across the galaxy. A quiet world had chosen compassion over fear, and in doing so had earned the protection of Earth. The Croth, once feared, now whispered of their defeat. And other worlds began to wonder, what might happen if they too sheltered a human in need? For the Vanians, life would never be the same. Their gardens and libraries remained, but above them now floated the shield of Earth's fleet. No longer were they a forgotten people. They had become allies of the most determined defenders in the stars, and all because, on a quiet evening in the desert, they had chosen to shelter one human.